Hey guys, Smith here with Minute Maintenance. Now today we're going to be winterizing this 2010 Chevy Impala. It's always a good idea to go ahead and knock out a few essential things to make sure your vehicle is going to give you the most reliability you want. That way you don't have any issues and you're stranded on the side of the road in the middle of a snowstorm. So stick with me, let's knock out these winter must-dos together. Alright guys, again before me we have a 2010 Chevy Impala. Now one of the very first things and most important things that I like to do to any vehicle, you've heard me say a million times, is check the tire pressure on all four tires. If they're not properly inflated, you're not going to have any traction control that you want when it comes to the ice and the sleet and the snow on the ground. Now, while we're checking the tire pressure, what we're also going to do is we're going to rotate all four tires. It's very important to keep the tread wear even on the tires so you get the most life out of the tires. Tires aren't cheap, tires are expensive. And so if you rotate the tires, it'll make them last even longer. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the front two tires, move them to the back, move the back two tires, move those to the front. So let's go ahead and loosen up these lugs while all four wheels are on the ground, because sometimes when you jack up the vehicle and try to loosen the lugs without any friction from the ground or someone standing on the brakes, if you're doing a solo, the wheels are going to spin on you. So let's go ahead and start loosening up all four lug nuts, get the vehicle jacked up, and rotate some tires. Alright guys, one of my favorite tools when it comes to removing tires from a vehicle, when it comes to removing lug nuts, I love myself a four-way spinner. Makes the job a lot easier. It's got multiple different options on here as far as which one you need for your vehicle. So there's multiple different sizes, so make sure you get the proper four-way that's going to have the size you need for your vehicle. Then once you put it on, simple spin gives you a lot of leverage. So let's go ahead and get this put on here and just go ahead and loosen these lug nuts. Let's get them loose. That one was way too loose. There we go. Now I'll do that to all three tires. That'll get it jacked up. It'll make getting the rest of the tires off a lot easier. Alright guys, we went ahead and we got the vehicle jacked up. You want it jacked up just enough where there's air between the tires. You don't want to go too high. Now, on a lot of unibody vehicles, GM vehicles, stupid vehicles, they have what's called a pinch weld underneath here. And this is where you're supposed to actually attach your jack, and that's stupid. It's very dumb. These rust very easily. They fall apart very easily. They're not very strong. Whoever thought of this idea is a jerk, and he should be ashamed of himself. This is what he thinks is an appropriate piece of metal to jack onto. So what I like to do is find an actual strong, sturdy piece of metal. So I'm going for the cross support underneath the engine here to jack up the front end. I'll apply my jack stand here. Another one on the other side. I'll lower the front down. Then we'll go to the back, jack it up, do the same thing, 7/4 jack stands, swap all the tires. All right, now I got all four tires up off the ground. And what I'm going to do is to rotate the tires. Again, you take the front tires and move them to the back. Now the back tires come to the front. There's a specific pattern. There's lots of patterns out there, but the one I like to use, this front driver's, that's the driver's side steering wheel is right there. Front driver's side tire goes to the back passenger side. So this goes straight kitty corner. Front passenger comes kitty corner. Two back tires come straight up. Follow along. Sounds complicated. Promise it's not. All right, so again, front passenger, I got all the lug nuts off of all the wheels. Front drivers, I apologize, steering wheel. I'm driving the car. Front drivers. Wheel comes off. It's coming with me. We're going around to the back passenger. Front driver becomes back passenger wheel. Back passenger wheel becomes front passenger wheel. Front passenger wheel becomes, sometimes I'm stuck, I give him a little smack or a little kick. Back driver's wheel. And back driver's wheel becomes front driver's wheel. And now the tires are rotated. All right, now they've got all 4 tires changed and bolted back up. I'll lower the back end. I'll keep the front end up because I'm going to be doing an oil change. That's number 2 on the winter list of making sure the vehicle is going to be running. You want to make sure it has clean, nice oil so it can keep the engine the right temperature and nicely lubricated, because winter temperatures are very hard on the vehicle. Cold on the outside, everywhere, extremely hot on the inside makes for a bad mix. It's got to be able to fight that off. The oil really helps with that. Now, if you need a little more detailed explanation on how to do a tire rotation or what things to look for while you're rotating your tires as far as brakes and suspension parts go, look at another video on this channel, Minute Maintenance. Look at tire rotation and oil change on a Raptor. My buddy Derek, the other half of Minute Maintenance, he went ahead and did a little more detailed information as far as what you should look for when you're rotating your tires. But now we'll get the back end lowered, keep the front end up so I can get underneath, do an oil change. All right, guys, now we're under the vehicle. Oil pan set up, and we're going to be aiming for right here. This is our oil drain bolt right here. It's 15 millimeter, so we're going to grab 15 millimeter socket wrench, lefty loosey, give her a twist. There we go, broke it free. And it's always good to use a short socket, guys. I was driving through a parking lot about 2 months back, saw a guy with basically a spark plug, a longer style 15 millimeter or whatever size it was, socket, and an extension on it, just because he didn't want to crawl into the vehicle. He was reaching, and he was stripping the crap out of this. I had to pull over out of my car and help him out because I couldn't bear to stand that poor vehicle going through all that trauma. It's always a good idea to wear gloves. You know what they say, no glove, no love. I'm a loveless man, so that's why I'm here. Let's start backing her out. And oil's gonna start coming as you're doing this. It is what it is, cost of doing business. And then try to get your hand out of the way. Just try to push some, I'm putting some positive pressure back towards the way I'm pulling it out as I'm twisting out, just to try to force that oil to the very last second like that. And look at that, no oil on my hands. Oil, oh, I guess I got a drop, that's all right. Then what you want to do is check your bolt, make sure your threads aren't damaged. Just go ahead and get a rag, clean that up, make sure there's any visible damage to your thread, so when you put it back in there, it's not going to seal right, because while it's out, you might as well go ahead and get that changed if you absolutely have to. Then on the back side here, sometimes it's loose, sometimes inset in. On this one, it's inset into the plug. That black ribbon there at the very back there that I'm rubbing my nail across on the very back seated there, that's basically a gasket, a washer, a seal, again, to help keep the oil from coming out. If this is damaged, the seal is missing or damaged, then it's not going to keep all the oil in. You'll be dripping and losing oil slowly and steadily. So I'll go ahead and we'll let that drain out, and then we'll reach up and grab our oil filter. And now we're down to a slow trickle on that. And my oil filter is actually located back here. There's this bit of an indent cut out right here. Right up there is my oil filter. So I'm going to go ahead and take this pan and bring it this way, right to the very edge. Take advantage of that spout there, give me a little bit more coverage so I can reach up and go and get this oil filter started while this is still catching those remaining drips in the edge of the pan there, catching and dragging in. I'm going to reach up there. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let me show you. So right there is that semi-spherical cutout and the big white cap there. That is your oil filter. Now some oil filters you can reach from inside the engine bay. This one you got to be underneath. They do make special wrenches in case it's on there too tight. Let's see if I can get these big gorilla hands on there. What I can do. There she be. Like a boss. Ooh. All right, so she broke free just fine. I'm going to get you out of the way. Here she goes. And you're going to get oil on your hands. This time is what it is. Not much I can do about that. But try to carry it this way. So the direction it's twisted in there, try to carry it out that way because this filter itself is full. You'll see what I mean when I go and tip it. A whole bunch of oil is going to come pouring out of the inside. There you go. So if you immediately pull it out and then start janking with it, picking different angles, trying to avoid the oil that's coming out on you, then you're going to cause yourself some issues. Now, when you pull an oil filter, I know Derek went over this, and again, the F-150 oil change tire rotation video, I highly recommend checking that one out here on the same channel, Minute Maintenance. Make sure your seal is here. This black thing here on this one is a seal. Look at that. Comes right off. If you do not see it on the filter, if when you dumped it over, you did not physically 100% watch it fall in there, that means it is still up in the engine. And you have to reach up in there and you have to remove it. The new filter is going to have a nice new seal. You do not reuse these. You have to get it out. If you double up on the seal, okay, there are lots of things in life, gentlemen, that you don't use two of. Ladies, this isn't for you, so tune out. Gentlemen, I'm talking to you. There are lots of things in life that you only use one. You don't double bag a oil filter. You only have the one. If you put two on there, you're going to have some issues. So make sure you know 100% where this is. Alright guys, and now to put everything back together, it's the reverse. Now this is the new oil filter with the seal that it comes with already on there. Make sure it's physically pushed down on there. Make sure you double check it's physically pushed down on there and there wasn't a mistake in the factory. You don't want this thing getting sloppy on you. You reach back up and you do the exact opposite of what you just did. And as tight as it was when you took it off, assuming someone didn't find a way to take some giant wrench to this thing, hand tight and a little extra. You might need a rag to give you that grip. There we go. And then oil pan bolt, lock stock, ready to rock. And always start these things by hand, guys. Always start bolts by hand if absolutely possible. If you start with a wrench, you're likely to strip the head, you're likely to cross thread the bolt itself, the nut, whatever you're putting on there, and cause damage. Sometimes irreversible damage. Give yourself a world of headaches. They're nice and tight. Now, up top to fill it in. Alright guys, and for those wondering, what do you do with the leftover oil after an oil change? I can't change my own oil because I don't have anywhere to store the oil. You can use the same bottle. If you used all the oil out of the container, I keep extra containers lying around that I've emptied out in the past for this particular purpose. Take a funnel, you take the old dirty dark oil, look how black and burnt and gross that is, you dump it with a funnel into the bottle, and then you can seal that bottle off, and you can take that to any auto parts store, O'Reilly, Napa, AutoZone, and they will dispose of the oil for free. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this, dump it in there, seal it off, and we're good to go. Oil change complete. Alright, now to finish off the oil change portion, this motor takes 4 quarts of oil. Get my funnel to make pouring a lot easier. And I have a large 5-quart container, motor oil. Let's go ahead and get that in there. She only takes 4. Now notice how brown and clear and clean and nice that oil is looking compared to that black, dark, as black as this funnel was that came out. It's burning. That's why it turns that dark black color. It's carbon, it's from being burnt, it's from being in the engine. The darker it is, from engine use, it's the worse it is for your motor, and the more you need to change it even sooner. You double check it. Clean it off. Stick it back in. One last time and stick it back in. I always like to do it twice. First one you're taking out, that level doesn't count. And then let's see. Oh yes. See if we can get that camera to focus. You can see those 4 dots there. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's also hash marks there. That is where you want your oil. No further past this last dot, last hash mark, and it is nice and crisp, nice and clean right in there. So we are good to go on our oil change. Now we're off to the next winterizing thingamabob we're going to be doing. All right, next on our list takes us to coolant. If you don't have enough coolant in your car, your heater's not going to work. And let me say that again. If you don't have enough coolant in your car, a lot of times people get in their vehicles in the wintertime. They're using the heat inside of the car. They're like, it's not blowing hot air. I don't know what's happening. A lot of the times, guys, 99+% of the time, when I've heard people bring that issue up, it's because their coolant is low. Nobody thinks about that. The heater works by taking the heat that the coolant goes through the engine. Coolant gets hot. They use that to heat the pipes. Whatever they do in the heater core, the magic to heat for the hot air to blow in. If there's not enough coolant in here in the motor, one, the engine's not going to be happy, but also the heater's not going to work. So let's go ahead and top this coolant off, because I went ahead and checked the level and it was low. So there's a handy funnel. A lot of people who actually know about cars out there might be thinking, that's green coolant. Shouldn't it be orange in a GM? And what I like to tell people, what I like to remind them is, shut up. Mind your own business. There we go. Next up brings us to our windshield washer fluid. Everybody knows in the wintertime when there's sleet, slush, ice on their windshield, nobody actually goes out there with an ice scraper. The first thing they do, because they're lazy, is they try to spray fluid on it. So make sure you have an all-season and winter-rated washer fluid. There is a difference. Make sure you have the right washer fluid for the right season. And then make sure your windshield washer reservoir is filled to the brim, because you will be using every last drop. All right, next up, guys, is the cabin air filter. Now, on this 2010 Chevy Impala, this particular GM, the cabin air filter is located underneath this back trim piece. What you have to do is get yourself a small pair of needle nose pliers like I have that actually have a curve on it, or an actual trim tool, or a small flat blade, thin, flathead screwdriver, and you want to pry up on the middle part of this trim piece. That middle part there, in that location, and in this location. Those little guys. And the rest comes right out. Gonna put that cap back together. And then the trim just pulls right out. Alright. Pull that seal off to the side. And then work her out of the way here. And this is going to give us access to our cabin air filter. Now, the cabin air filter is different than your regular air filter in this box here. This helps give you fresh air for the engine so it breathes better. This is so you breathe better. And a lot of people forget to check these on their vehicles, but last thing you want to do is we fumble around here in the summertime when you realize you have that musty, gross moisture buildup in here and garbage from all the summer use and rain and all that. So let's go ahead and get this changed out. And now we got a new one installed. It's just the reverse. Nice, new, clean, carbon backed to help filtrate any bacteria and garbage so that we're breathing happy. Shimmy that cat in there. This guy goes out the way it came in with these black tabs sitting at the top here. So shimmy, shimmy. Ring. Boom. And everything else just falls back into place. Fall, I say, fall. There we go. And replace the seal. Now our cabin air filter is done. And just to keep things breathing fresh and happy, we'll go ahead and we'll check our air filter as well. Let's move the two clips here. Work it out, work it out, work it out. Seen better days. Not the worst I've ever seen. But we're getting ready for winter. And whether I've made it into the next 3 months, I don't know. But I know this one will. There you go, air filter's done. Whenever you're under the hood, you always want to check your brake fluid as well, which is back here. That brake fluid's good to go. Power steering fluid, that power steering fluid's good to go. Transmission fluid, that's important because your transmission's gonna be working very hard, slipping, sliding, going all over the place in the snow and the sleet. You wanna make sure that one's functioning appropriately. This is the dipstick back here. The color looks great, but what's it say? It's got all these words over here on the dipstick, and it says, check and park, engine running. So I'm sure you remember from the last video, guys, oil, you check cold, transmission fluid, you check with the engine running, vehicle in neutral, someone standing on the brakes. So I'll have to take care of that a little bit later once I get this thing up to operating temperatures. But so far on our winter check list, tire rotations, tire pressure, oil change, make sure you have enough coolant. Make sure you have windshield washer fluid, cabin air filter, regular air filter, battery. Guys, come over here and take a look at this. Look at all that battery acid that's built up. Don't eat it. It's not candy. Down there, that's built up from the temperature swings. When things get heat, things expanding, it causes that battery acid to build up. So what you want to do is clean your terminals, and that's next. Now to clean the terminals, you can use just a regular wire brush, or they have actual battery terminal cleaners with the wire brush on the inside. You put it around top, you twist it around. I'm going to use both to get this clean because I'm going to clean the top posts, is what those terminals are called, that the batteries the battery cables connect into. I'm also use a wire brush to clean off the cables themselves. So first things first, 10mm socket to loosen it up so I get the battery off. And yes, you're going to have to reset your radio. You're going to have to reset your clocks. But at least you'll know your battery has a solid connection. The battery acid can stop you from having a good connection and your battery won't start. Now you're looking like a fool trying to figure out why your car won't start in the middle of winter and you're late for work or a date, whatever else you got going on. And look at all that, guys. Look at all that battery acid. Shame, shame. Let's go ahead and get that cleaned off. Start with the post here. Slips on and just rotate it. Spin it back and forth. Ugh. Like it's snowing. And retighten her down. Alright guys, I went ahead and loosened up the positive. And again, just look at all that gross debris. Battery acid. Not good, guys. Now she's sure to start. Next on our list takes us to a familiar place, guys. Something I always say. Make sure the inside of your car is clean. For the most part, leftover Halloween thing, fingernail, random bobby pin. It's 2 of them. Fairly decluttered, but it hasn't been wiped down in forever. I can just see the filth sitting on the dashboard and everything. So I'm gonna get my hands cleaned up. I'm gonna get my tools put away first, hands cleaned up, because now we're on to cleaning the inside of the vehicle. And then after that, you'll be getting a wash on the outside. All right, guys, and there you go. That's how you winterize a vehicle. You want to rotate the tires and make sure they're properly inflated. You want to give it an oil change. Check all your fluids, brake, transmission fluid. Make sure your coolant is topped off. Make sure you have winter-rated windshield washer fluid. Make sure, here's a pro tip for you guys, you have windshield wipers rated for the wintertime. Summer ones are a lot thinner, a lot thicker for the wintertime, so we can actually grab onto the ice, the sleet, and the snow and move that out of the way so you have clear vision. And then make sure you clean the inside and the outside of the vehicle. All right, guys, that was a lot more comfortable, and things are just gonna last a lot longer for you, and make sure you make it through the wintertime without getting stuck on the side of the road in a snow ditch. So if you have any comments or questions, drop those below. Feel free to check out all our other videos, and I hope you guys take a minute out of your day, as always, guys, to do some maintenance.